This episode of Talk About Tomorrow is about the Iberian Lynx, and it is sponsored by Sadler's Property. This year, Sadler's Property has been operating in the Large and Luge area for 25 years, giving the kind of consistency you need to accurately value your property and find the right buyer. Through Sadler's association with Knight Frank International, we can find you a buyer through a global network, making sure you get the best price and the most professional service. So today, for Talk About Tomorrow, I am at the Iberian Lynx Reproduction Centre, right up in the hills above Silves. And I'm really privileged to be talking to João Alves, who is from ICNF, and he is the director of this project. So we're just going to talk to him to find out a little bit more about what's happening here. It's actually been in the news this week because I believe the Iberian lynx has been downgraded from endangered to vulnerable.
Yes.
So that must feel like a fantastic step that you've achieved there.
Of course, because that's for that to downgrade progressively that you are working during 40 or 50 years. Not myself, of course, but my colleagues by the end of 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
And after 2000, IUCN classified lynx, Iberian lynx, in risk of extinction.
Uh-huh.
At 2015, the level downgrade to endangered,
Uh-huh.
and this year to vulnerable. So that's for this objective that we work.
Mm-hmm.
And the National Centre are beginning to work after 2009, when the first female came from Andalusia.
Okay.
But before the coming of Azar, the first female, the Portuguese government and Spanish governments make agreements, writing agreements. The first one in 2004, the second one 2007, and the third one 2008. That's when the Spanish government make the compromise to send lynxes from Andalusia to Portugal to this center to be reproduced here. Because in 2007, Portugal agreed to become a part of the Spanish plan of reproduction in captivity. And so that's the only way to save lynxes from the extinction. Because there are so few lynxes in Andalusia, only in Andalusia, Serra Morena and Doñana, there are less than 100 lynxes, and so they need to be saved from extinction, they need to be reproduced in captivity. And we succeed in this National Reproduction Center, and another 3 ones in Spain, and so they reach the status of vulnerable this year.
So we were just talking that lynx actually did originally live in this area. You were saying there are some local people that remember maybe 30 years ago there were...
One person from the municipality of Monchique, their grandfather create a young lynx, they catch it at wild and create like a cat. They don't know there are lynxes, they are very young one, perhaps the mother died or something else, and they catch the young lynxes, the cube, and create them like a cat.
Like a pet.
So there are the proof, there are in this land, in these hills, in the Monchique and Serra do Caldeirão, there are lynxes for 15 or 60 or 70 years ago, in the last century. So there are potentially habitat for lynxes to live in here.
But they had totally died out by the time. And then this project was funded by Águas do Algarve. So can you tell me about how that came about?
Because the Águas do Algarve and 2 or 3 years before the National Institute of Water, because the construction of the dam passed from INAG to Águas do Algarve, they constructed the Haute-Loca Dam, and the reservoir of the Haute-Loca Dam, the reservoir of water, occupies a very large area, and so this area superposed to the habitat of lynxes, potentially with lynx. And so the European Union imposes that Portugal construct a center of reproduction to compensate the reservoir of the Odloca Dam. And so, Águas do Algarve, buy the land, Herdade das Santinhas, where we are in this moment, and construct all the buildings, the fences. The fences of reproduction are 16 fences, and so, and the buildings, the house for director, for Rodrigo Serra, is the technical director of this center, and for volunteers and the clinic and all the buildings that are necessary for a reproduction center works well.
So they had to compensate for the environmental impact
yes, of course.
Of the dam, and so it was decided that the lynx reproduction program would be a good compensation.
A good compensation, of course. And so after then, we, the European Union, make financing the reintroduction at wild. This property and these buildings are not financed by European Union. This is from money from Águas do Algarve, and the National Center are supported by Portuguese money, not from European money. The European Union make financing the reintroduction at wild. Okay. And so since 2014, we begin in Portugal to release lynxes that are born here or born in the other 3 centers that exist in Spain. And so we released 10 lynxes at Val do Guadiana, near Mértola and Serpa, near the frontier to Spain. And we choose that area because they have enough food, they have enough wild rabbit to support the lynxes when they are released. The principal element of the lynxes is wild rabbit. And so we have to make census to see in what territories there are enough wild rabbit to support a wild population of lynxes. And we begin in 2014, release 10 lynxes, in 2016 more 10, then 8, 7, 6, and nowadays we reach, in the census of the last year, 2023, we reach the number of near 300 lynxes in Liberty, in the Val do Guadiana, and some of them goes to Algarve, in Alcotim, near Alcotim. By their shoes, they pass the Ribeira do Vascão to the south, and fixed and stays at Alcotim in 2 big properties where there are lots of wild rabbit and lots of another prey, perdiz, to feed them. So we have 2 principal nucleus, Val do Guadiana, Mértola, and now Alcotim in Algarve.
So there's a total in the whole Iberia now of 300, including Spain, or is that just Portugal?
In Portugal, 300 more. In Iberian Peninsula, last year we surpassed 2,000 lynxes. 2,000.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yes, 2,021 lynxes confirmed in Spain and Portugal. From 2021, near 200 are in Portugal.
And I understand that part of the reason why they became endangered was because of the myxomatosis in rabbits and the rabbit population dropping so dramatically. Is that no longer an issue? Is there now a healthy rabbit population?
No, myxomatosis are now controlled. There are another disease of febre hemorrhagica viral. There are by viruses also, but there are oscillation. 1 year the rabbit goes down, but 2 years after they recuperate, and so there are a balance, an equilibrium with lynxes and wild rabbits. The lynxes are useful because when some rabbits became ill, it's more easier to the lynx to catch them.
Of course.
And so they act like a doctor to keep the disease controlled, because if they kill the wild rabbit that are ill, they don't spread the disease to another wild rabbit. And so a predator make this issue to the prey they feed. Okay.
Yeah. And we're sort of stood here in the reproduction centre, and behind us We're looking at the buildings, which involves, like, as you say, accommodation for the staff, a clinic, and behind us in the distance, that is where the cubs and the mothers, spend the first months of their lives.
Today we have there in the 16 fences with reproduction, we have 30 animals, 25 adults and 5 cubes that are born this year.
Right.
30 animals. Today there are 2 of them, another a female and a cube goes to Spain to be released in Extremadura. Today, okay? They are by roads
They're on the roads as we speak. Okay.
So, but today we have 30 animals, 25 adults, 5 cubes. At the background we have the south part of the 16 fences. The building there we can see it's the lodgement for the volunteers and from technicians from Spain that came here to catch animals to be released in Spain.
Yeah.
The 3 little ones are the clinic to do the animals when they are kept. We take blood to make analysis if they are well, like we do to humans.
Yeah.
Everything is well,
yeah.
and there are no disease.
Yeah.
They are in order to go to the wild. The kitchen where the food are prepared, because the young cubs are fed with live rabbits,
Right.
but the older one, the mothers and the fathers, don't need to be fed with live animal. They are fed with meat from.
So the older animals, you're never intending to release
No,
them?
no.
So they are just here to breed?
Yes, of course.
So it's not normal, you said today, a mother's going with the cub to be released. So that is not normal?
It's the first experience we made this year to see if it, because we have a problem here. It's the reproduction centers are almost full with older animals. They don't,
of course.
especially females, are not able to reproduce, to generate young cubes, but we don't kill them, of course.
Yeah.
And so the fences are almost full with animals. We don't know what to do with them.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so if a mother are successful to go to the wild, survive, and with her cube, it's very well. It's the first time we released an older animal, a mother with his cube.
Right.
Because all the mothers and fathers became at the centers, with reproduction centers, for more reproduction, or if we can find a place. There are a couple at the zoo of Lisbon, of lynxes, older ones. There are another couple at the zoo of Madrid.
Right.
Near Porto, we know the municipality of Vila Nova de Gaia are finishing a special installation to 2 animals goes to there, the older ones, and we try to find another spaces to put the older animals, the elder ones that are not able to reproduce, to release the fences for reproduction, because for reproduction in one fence only male and female, no more animals, because they fight with each other. So the older one with no cubes present, they are fed with meat from supermarket. Okay. There, the new fences at the left are for training the young cubes before they are released.
Right.
We transfer the young cubes from the reproduction fences to the training fences to see if the young cubes, without their mother, can catch food, can catch the
So
wild
you release the wild rabbits into that enclosure and they have to hunt them.
This, they are able to catch a wild animal. It's the only thing they need to go to the wild, because they are not able, without the mother, to catch food. They don't survive at the
So
nature.
how many animals have you got in that enclosure now there with this is where they train to hunt?
At the training there are no animals, because the cubs that are born in 2023, they are always released. All of them are released.
Oh, they've all been released now, right?
We have young 5 cubes that are born this year, 2024. They have 2 or 3 months age, and so they are not age enough to go to the training center.
Okay, so at what age would you put them there?
10 months,
Oh, 10 months.
10,
yeah.
11 months, yes.
Okay.
They
And
are
what's the
apart.
gestation period for
2 months. The gestation
just
period,
2
2
months.
months, yes.
Okay.
60 days, 61, 62 days, 2
Yeah.
months, yes.
Yeah.
They
And-
they make the period where they make are December, January. It's the period where male and female come together, even in at the nature. They try to reach, because the family are not created by the male. The male make the reproduction with the female and goes away.
Right.
It's only the female that they try to feed and to take care of the cubes.
young,
Only
and-
the female. The male goes away.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
But then do you release the males back into the wild, or because obviously presumably your biggest issue is genetics? You can't have the genetics too close to.
The principal feature that we have to with it's the genetic, because there are very high levels of consanguinity, because all of the lynxes are originated from a small amount of lynxes, all of them at Andalusia, at Serra Morena and Doñana, and so they are all cousins from each other. And so in the centers we choose a male and a female who more apart possible,
right,
genetical different, but at wild we don't control the mate, where they mate, because the dominant male many times reproduce with several females.
Of course.
And so there are another level of consanguinity that are rising again. And so sometimes we have to catch a dominant male from the wild and put in another place, and a new male from the reproduction center or from another population, and changing males from the several nucleus of small populations to reduce consanguinity.
And you were saying that sometimes here the females and males you put together might not necessarily like each other.
There are 1 year, 2 years ago, a male and a female don't match together, and so they fight with each other. We have to put them apart again.
How did you manage to get them apart? I mean,
they are the mechanisms, and the keepers knows how to enter, and sometimes if it's necessary, with a dardo, a tube,
a tranquilizer,
a tranquilizer, put sleeping, and then you put it apart.
And you were saying that one of the key philosophies here is you cannot let them become familiar with humans, right? Because what issue would that cause?
Of course, because they need to be afraid from humans.
Yes.
And so the living wild rabbits, they are put outside the fences by a hole outside,
tunnel,
and there are tubes in the ground where the rabbit goes by inside with several exits, and the lynx don't know from what exit the wild rabbit comes out. So we don't feed them directly.
Yes.
Especially the cubes, okay?
Yeah.
The mothers and the fathers, that's no problem, because they are never released.
Yeah.
With the exception of today of Flora. This the first time. And also to see if Flora, because Flora, it's the name of the female. Flora. It's a specimen with a behavior very aggressive to humans. They don't agree when the keepers enter inside the fence.
Okay.
And the keepers only enter 2-3 times by week inside the fences, because the food are sending outside the fences by the hole and by the
so
tubes.
They don't associate food with humans, right? So
of course. And so Flora, when the keeper enters the fence, are always a behavior of
so she's just naturally afraid and aggressive.
The Rodrigo Serra, the director, they think Flora are able to survive at wild because they don't reach very with humans.
Okay.
And because if there are a female that when the keeper enters, they go like a cat making
rubbing up
that's
against,
not
yeah,
possible
waiting for their
to release.
whiskers.
Okay.
That's not good, because of course they'd come into towns then and start to try to get food off
Yes,
people, and
sometimes
it would cause
we have
problems.
a female name is paprika
Yeah.
that are born here,
Yeah.
paprika, or a paprika. The names are dealing with alphabet. The cubes that born this year, the names begins with letter V.
Ah, okay.
Victoria or
Yes.
Victor, or
Yes,
sometimes,
yes.
but we don't give names, human names, okay?
Yes.
Hills, rivers, mythology names.
Okay, yeah.
We try to not put human names.
Yes.
So this year, the cubes are with names beginning with letter V.
Right.
But paprika, it's to counting how many letters back. So paprika are born here, are released near Mértola, and during 2-3 years, their behavior is normally. They catch, he catch rabbits, but perhaps at the area where the paprika are, the wild rabbits, perhaps because myxomatose or febre hemorrhagica viral are rising, and so the wild rabbits disappear. And so paprika learns to go to the chickens.
Yes.
And so they kill more or less 200 or 300 chickens during several months. And we have to catch the paprika, and now paprika are inside the fence near Mértola.
Okay.
During 2 years, and we try to that paprika forget the flavor of chicken. And we perhaps we will release paprika this year again to see what is his behavior. If she returns again to the small village, it's Corte-Sines. Corte-Sines, it's the name of the place where they go to the chickens. If paprika goes again to Corte-Sines to feed on the chicken, we have to catch paprika again and put definitely in a fence.
And did you have to compensate the owner of the chickens, or?
Well, in Portugal there are no legal possibility.
Right.
What we made, we turned the enclosures where the chickens are impenetrable to lynxes with fences and improve the impenetrability of the
so that they can't
but
get
paprika becomes, it's very expert, it's extraordinary, and the lynxes normally catch the wild rabbits during the night, or in the early morning, or when the sun was down. But paprika learns that during the night, the places where the chickens are closed with new, structure. She can enter the enclosure. So they go to feed during the day, because the persons open the door of the enclosure where are the chickens, for the chickens go to feed outside, on several.
And then she's licking her lips, waiting to get in.
They catch the chicken during the day.
Yeah, and presumably, obviously, this project does depend on the sort of support of local populations, right? Because you don't want the local population going out hunting them, which is presumably one of the reasons they became extinct in the first place.
To a new area became a reintroduction area for the first time, even if historical, at Val do Guadiana, historically there are lynxes, but in the 20th century, not perhaps until 1980 or 1990 there are lynxes at wild, but after then they disappear completely. So when another feature that the new area must comprise, it's food, enough wild rabbits, and social acceptance agreement for the population. And so the technicians talk with people, with the landowners, and the municipalities, and the associations of hunters, to take agreement, and they assign documents to accept the presence of lynxes and to not make harmful to them. Okay.
And do you think that lynx is going to become a part of tourism? Is there ever going to be a sort of, lynx wildlife tours like they have in Africa? You think that's a possibility?
At Val do Guadiana, there are small enterprises that make touristic tours to see lynxes. And we now have a new system of the sounds of the land of lynxes, with the sound of the male or the female during the mate period for calling and each other, and another sounds of another species, eagles or small animals. And so we buy a technician. They make the with the microphones, and we have at our site CNF we can hear the sounds of the land where are lynxes. Okay, it's another way to improve the tourism. And there are wine producers of wine that make the name of the wine lynxes. Small biscuits, oil from olive oil, also lynxes. And there are small tourist houses where they offer the possibility, if the person stays there sleeping, by walking during the night, it's possible to see lynxes, and it happens.
So it is benefiting these areas
yes,
as well.
Yes. The people of Myrtle and Serpa understand, and we before the first release, we explain the possibilities and potentialities of lynxes from in their lands, and so they understand it, and they agree to lynxes go to there, and they are benefit from it. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's great. And you've just sort of spoken about the behaviour of lynxes. Can you just describe to me a bit more about their characteristics or how they live? You're saying that obviously the females bring up the young, so do they live in small groups or big groups?
They don't create familiar nucleus. The nucleus, the female and the cubes, not more.
Okay.
The males are divagating.
Okay.
Only during the mate period. They look for a female. And they make their job, and so
and then they're off again.
Okay.
Typical man.
And we have some especially males that disperse thousands of kilometers. Some males that were born here and released near Mértola. One of them goes almost near Barcelona.
Wow.
And another two brothers are born here, are released at Montes de Toledo, south of Madrid, and they contours the urban area of Madrid by north. They cross the Tagus River, and they decided, it's Can and Kentaro, the name beginning with Kappa, Can and Kentaro. The names are given here by this persons that works here, Can and Kentaro. That's from the generation, Kappa generation. And they decided to become to the place where they are born.
No.
One enters Portugal near Vimioso, at Trás-os-Montes. The other one enters Portugal a little more to the south at Estremoz.
Wow.
These one that enter at Estremoz are reach here by outside the property, by outside that are the Chantinhas, go to Serra de Monchique, to oeste, to east, to oeste, yes, and down to near Algesur. And the last signal, because when they are released, they have collars with the transmitter of GSM signal, like the mobile ones, okay, the mobile phones. And so the last signal the collar are emit is at São Teotónio, at Odmira municipality, already Alentejo. Also, the Can or Kentaro, I don't know now. It's the what of the brother, because one of them are no, the last thing it's killed in a highway near Porto. Are killed by a car in a highway, crossing a highway. But the other one reach here this place, don't succeed to enter, or because, of course, because there are fences all around the property. But their intention is to return to the place where he is born.
And tell me, are you going to release any populations into this area?
No.
No?
It's a commitment that no liberations very near from the centers,
Yeah.
because there are mixes, and so it's not
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
But at the future, if they choose to
come back,
to
yeah.
come back, we can do nothing.
And you
okay?
think there's one in the Alentejo now then? The Kappa or...
This one, that last signal, it's Aródio Alentejo, we don't know if it's alive, it's dead by natural death. We don't know, because the battery of the collar ends energy, no more energy, and so we try to see where Kentaro is, but we don't succeed to find them.
And do you ever recapture them to check their health? Or?
Yes, all the years, by middle of September, October and November, we try to catch 10% of each nucleo. And so in 2023, in Alcotim, Mértola and Serpa, Val do Guadiana and Alcotim and Algarve, we succeed to catch 29 lynxes, and we take blood from them, make to analysis in the laboratory to see if there are some disease that could put in risk the survival of all the population. Fortunately, we don't. We have no disease in Val do Guadiana that could put in risk the survival of lynxes.
Do you vaccinate them against?
Yes,
any?
Vaccine. Yes. Well, we see the veterinaries put their weight, measures, the teeth, everything is it's a small checkup, a small checkup like a human to the lynx. The lynx, they are not more than 2-3 hours in all operation, and they release again.
And then they release them
with a vaccine, of course, because the lynxes could catch the same disease of cats or dogs.
Exactly.
And so they sometimes contact domestic cats or domestic dogs, and so they could become infected by a disease, of course.
And are they like domestic cats? Do they enjoy lying
They
in the
don't
sun,
like very much. If a lynx find a domestic cat, could kill them.
Oh, really?
Of course. Yes.
Yeah.
Because there are competitors, and foxes also. The lynxes kill foxes because they are competitors for the same food. And in a territory where there are lynxes, fixed territorial lynxes, the number of foxes and sacarrabos and ginetas reduce drastically.
And are they nocturnal, or they like lying in the sun like cats, or do they?
No, during the day they put in holes near rocks at the shadow. No, they are much more active during night. During the dawning of the sun, or early in the morning and during the night. So we try for the problem of the batteries of the collars don't last more than 2 years. We try to put small, like the
microchips.
Microchips to recharge by the sun.
Oh, like solar sort of.
Cellular, yes.
Oh, that's a good idea.
They don't succeed because during the day they are under the shade, and so they don't succeed. We try 1 year, we abandoned it because the small cellular batteries, they succeed in eagles. Some eagles are also with transmitters. They are always flying, and so they catch sun directly. With lynxes, it's not don't work. We put a battery, the most better battery, lithium battery, and so on. The more during is 2 years.
I was reading somewhere that you were going to try to use AI as well to track them. Is that true? Or
we
have
a new system. We have a new system. Now the collars don't emit, but we began only last year, in 30 animals, 29 or 30 animals. The animals that are catched to see if they are very good, very well. And so we don't use the GSM signal. We use a new system as LoRa that are used by cars, by the fleets of enterprise that use to distribute the things from one place to another. And so it's another frequency, don't consume so much energy like the signals of GSM. it's more the battery
will last longer. Yeah.
We need to put is antennas, gateways in towers where there are the receivers also for GSM signals, and this signal crossed with Waze for the conductors, with the help of Infraestruturas de Portugal, is a partner of the project that deals with the reintroduction at wild. It's Lynx Connect, financed by LIFE program from the European Union. And because Infraestruturas de Portugal is also a partner and receives money from the European Union to prevent death by cross in the roads, okay? They, with the platform of Waze gives a warning to the conductor when they are driving in a route and the lynx is nearby.
Really?
Of course, the lynx need to have a collar with the LoRa system emitting signal for the gateways in a tower, and the system crossed with Waze and make a warning to the conductor. Because the Waze gave some information, and sometimes the most useful information for conductor is when there are police in the route to control the velocity, okay? It's the more useful.
So if a lynx is near the road, it will alert someone to slow the traffic, or
200 meters from the left or the right of the route, they emit a signal, and the signal, the Waze platform warns the conductor.
When you say conductor, you mean the driver of the car?
Of a car.
I got you. Okay. Oh, how clever.
And because we have only 29 animals with collars with the new system, LoRa, we try to try another thing. We know some segments of road where there are lynxes in the surroundings. And so, because we have much more lynxes at wild with no collars, because if they're born at wild, we can't put
They'll never
collars.
have a collar,
The drivers reach a warning when they enter 20 kilometers or 10 kilometers of a route, of a road, where it's possible to have lynxes crossing the road, okay? And so, that's not, there are lynx nearby, it's you are entering a segment of a road where they are possible to have lynxes crossing. And so it's a warning for the drivers to be more attentive. And there are with no high speeds, because if they road they have 50 or 60 or 70 kilometers by hour, they can brake.
It's easy for them to brake.
If they drive 100 or 120, like in a highway, it's not possible to prevent
it would be so heartbreaking to have them killed by a car.
They are crossing, and the Waze, the platform of Waze, are very interested because it's a new, another useful for Waze.
For them, exactly.
We make a special event at Almada, where are the headquarters of Infraestruturas Portugal, and the owners of the platform Waze are very happy to be useful for conserving biodiversity.
And why is the lynx such an important part of the kind of food chain in Portugal? Why is it so important to reintroduce them into
lynxes and wolf, Iberian wolf, are the top predators of the ecosystem, Mediterranean ecosystem.
Of course.
And so they are part of a natural chain, and all of them have a role to play. And so if the one part is disrupted, there are consequences in all the chain also. And so if lynx are almost disappearing because of the disease of the wild rabbits and for the degradation of habitat by human influence, so we must, it's our obligation to reput all the chain with the lynx at the highest point, the same to the wolf. But wolf, the Iberian wolf, are another species that it's more flexibility. Their behavior of love is it's a family with one male dominant, but several young males and several females so there are more resilient lynxes. The behavior of lynxes with one female with the cubes alone, it's much more easier to be negatively influenced by human activities, by scarcity of food, and so on. So the level of endanger of lynxes reach by the transition of the 20th century to 21st century, they reach the highest level of endangered, right? Near extinction. And so only with these centers, the reproduction centers, the help of captivity reproduction, we succeed to rebuild again and inverse the declining of the population.
It's incredible what you've achieved. And I was just talking to you before, and I can't believe it was so long ago, but I came here in 2018, and actually the lynx weren't here, and the wildfires had come literally right down to the fence, and they all had to be evacuated, didn't they?
They go always to Spain. They are distributed in three lots for the other 3 centers in Spain, the reproduction centers. 10 or 9 for one center, 11 to another, and so they are evacuated in August 2018, and they return in December.
Right.
December.
Okay.
We rehabilitate the fences, construct the new fences of training centers, because coincides at the same time.
Yeah, I remember you were building
and
it when I was
they
here.
return almost, because the young cubes that are to release in Spain don't come again, because they come in December, in January goes again to Spain.
Point.
It's not necessary to make the trips. There are always stress. The transportation gave some stress to the animal. So the young cubes that are released in Spain stays there.
Yeah, so you just brought the adults back.
So the older ones, the mothers and the fathers, returns, and so things becomes again to working well. And so we try to do our best. Sometimes there are several difficulties. Well, the administration sometimes don't make an immediate response when something don't work very well, but we try to do all the best, and I think you have succeeded to put. And we hope that at near 2035 or 2040 we reach to the species are at a favorable state of conservation.
Wow.
That's a level of the population became sustainably at wild. And we don't need to all the years put animals into wild. We must only become with several exemplars, genetically very valuable, to, if something happens suddenly, we can again reproduce them. But that's not necessary. We hope very, very intensely that by 2014 everything are okay.
So self-sustaining. And you were saying that I think your contract here is up next year, but you hope that it will be extended.
Of course. The number of females, because the special issue that are important for the self-sustainability of the lynx is the number of females, reproduction females. And the specialists, the scientists, think that when we reach between 800 or 900 females, that level are enough. The lynx population are self-sustainability.
Wouldn't that be great?
By 2025, 2040. If everything continues to rise like from 2015 until now.
Great. Well, we'll just pause that now, just for a break. But it's so fascinating, and it's just such a beautiful landscape, and just seems to lend itself to the idea of wild lynx and the barragem in the background and these lovely rolling hills.
Yes.
So,
and for lynx, it's very good because there are no human activities.
exactly.
It's very tranquil.
Well, you were saying they're so sensitive; they recognise the cars,
Yes,
right?
they
and if a
they
foreign
have
car
a
comes
very,
in,
a very potent hearing, and so
Yeah.
they are listening what you are saying.
Yeah.
Perhaps the people that are working there see by the cameras that the lynxes inside the fences are more or less not stressed, but they are listened to us, okay?
Yeah, they're very
Because if
sensitive.
like the wind is blowing for that direction, perhaps the sound goes there very, very quickly, very easily. And so the lynxes understand that we are here and we are making some noise.
Yeah.
But that's for a good cause, okay?
Yeah, so I'm not allowed to take my car down because they might get stressed by the strange sound, but we are going to go down now, and go into the centre where we can actually view some of the lynx on the cameras, so that's going to be very exciting. So
yes, you can talk with the volunteers that are working there.
Brilliant. Okay, that's going to be very exciting. So we'll be back in a minute. So we've just moved inside to the office, and it does feel a bit like the Big Brother house, because I'm here with Marta, and her job at the moment is observing the cubs in their enclosures. There are 16 enclosures, and in each one is the mother with the cub, and Marta is just observing their behaviour and making sure everything is okay. So, Marta, how long have you been volunteering here for?
Oh, no, I work here.
Okay.
I'm part of the team, and I've been here since 2015.
Oh, so a long time.
Yeah.
And what's your background in your professional training? Or
I took biology.
Yeah, all right.
I took biology, and then with a focus or interest in animal behavior and ethology. Yeah.
And you actually live on the complex?
No, I live near here. I live in Silves, which is more or less 20 kilometers from here.
Yeah, you come up every day.
Yeah.
And it's, for me, I'm just looking at this gorgeous lynx there, and it's very easy to look at them and think, oh, they're so cute. But of course they are wild animals, right? And the key to it is that you are trying to not interfere with them as much as possible. So
yeah, so while they are not big cats, so they're wild cats, but they are completely wild. And here in captivity, despite being in captivity, we try for them to remain as wild as possible, because that's the objective. We want the moms to remain as wild as possible. So when they have their own cubs, they are able to pass those traits and behaviors, knowledge to the cubs, so that they grow up with the necessary tools to then later on be reintroduced into the wild, which they are usually around 1 year of age. Yeah. So here, for example, we have our 2 moms this year. We have Katana here with her 2 cubs, and we have Kaida here with her 3 cubs. Usually at this time of the day, they mostly sleep. It's quite hot. And now, later on in the afternoon, they will start waking up and have their activity periods. But yeah, we just monitor. Obviously, we prioritize monitoring the moms and their cubs to see how they're doing, how the cubs are developing. And at the same time, we look out for the remaining captive population to see if they are, if they seem to be well, either physically and behaviorally, obviously.
And so we were just discussing that they don't live in family groups. It's literally the mother and the cubs, and then the males are in separate enclosures, right? Or
yeah. So here in captivity, we put the male and the female together, usually around November, December. First, they go through a socialization process through a fence, so that they get to know each other, and obviously we observe and evaluate how they're getting along. Then if all seems to be well within the couple, if they seem to get along, then we put them together around beginning of December. And then we look out for the female going into estrus. We follow all the process. and the male remains together with the female until approximately 2 weeks before she's about to give birth. And then the male is separated into the enclosure next to the female. And from that point on, they remain separated, and it's just the mom with the cubs. It has been done here at the center. For example, 2 years we kept the dad with the mom, and the mom gave birth to the cubs while the dad was still within the enclosure. And on those 2 years, that litter went through the first month stages of development with the dad present. But we knew that male in question, it was an amicable male, so not too territorial, not too dominant, so we know that he was a good choice to try and do that in captivity. What we know from the wild is that they have overlapping territory, so while they don't function as a family unit, as we know, lions and etc., they do have overlapping territory, so they connect and see each other, but they don't pass. They're not always together. Is what I mean.
Sure. And how many cubs generally does the female have on average?
The average is 3 cubs. The average is 3 cubs. They can go up to 5.
Okay.
The average 3.
And obviously you don't interfere when they are giving birth, but you observe, do you, to make sure the birth is going well?
Yeah, we're always observing. We try to interfere as little as possible because, as I said, we try for them to remain as wild as possible and to remain with their behavior profile. So intervene as little as possible, but we observe them throughout the birth. And obviously, if we suspect or if we see that something might be going wrong, either with the mom or with one of the cubs, if it makes sense to, we will intervene. But it's a case-by-case analysis. And even later on, if we see that an injury happened and that it's not going to be able to sort itself out, then we will intervene, but we try to avoid. And we make use of the cameras that we have, and we follow the animal. If we have a clinical situation, we follow the animal to see how he's evolving and if it's going to resolve itself or if it will need veterinary intervention.
And also, we were just observing 2 little cubs, and they were fighting each other.
Play fighting.
Play fighting. They look very cute, but you were saying that sometimes it can get out of hand, the fights between the cubs.
Yeah, so specifically for, or in the Iberian Lynx, through their first week development process, or age, not process exactly, but when they're developing, they go through a stage of hierarchy fights within the litter, which is the first instance where the litter establishes a hierarchy. So they have intense fights for their age, let's say. And then we obviously are on the lookout to see if the cubs are fighting, but not if they don't incur major injuries. We look out for the mom's behavior. And we just want to get through that period. There has been not frequent, thankfully, but a few losses along the way. But it's expected. It's a natural behavior that occurs captivity and in the wild.
Sure. And what are the other sort of natural behaviours that you observe with them? I mean, obviously the mother feeds the cubs, right? And
the mother nurses the cub. They usually start their weaning process between 1 and 2 months old, but she continues to nurse them for sometimes up to 5 months, but sometimes it's mostly like comfort nursing because by that time they mostly get their nutrition from meat. But obviously you have the natural behavior of the mom nursing the cub suckling, then the weaning process. The mom starts presenting leftover rabbits, then injured rabbit, live rabbit. So they go through their predatory development, and the mom usually it's quite good at doing it and at teaching the cubs the different stages and how to interact with the rabbit, how to hunt, the rabbits, so we also observe those behaviors. Then you have the social behaviors, which are more prevalent within cubs. They tend to play with each other more, obviously. But sometimes, especially in younger moms, we see them participating in the play with their cubs. So they also run around their cubs and play fights with their cubs. Also on the adults, we also, because we do give them live prey, because it's a necessary part in training them to be introduced into the wild and knowing how to hunt their specific and preferred prey, which is wild rabbits. So we also see if they are maintaining those natural behaviors, and in the case of the moms, if they are teaching those behaviors to the cubs. Then you have territorial behaviors such as marking with urine. They also mark with their paws, their beards, their whole body, just scent marking different places. Usually we see those behaviors more frequently or going up during the hormonal period or the estrus, the mating period, let's say. But we see them throughout the year because they're territorial animals, and they mark their enclosures as they habit their daily.
Yeah, and do they climb?
They can climb, but they are not. They don't. So if they are, for example, I'm missing the word, but if they are playing, or if they get scared, they might climb a tree, either in play or to hide.
Yeah.
But they don't make use of trees like, for example, leopards do, that they go up there to rest and whatnot. So they might climb, jump, but as part of either play behavior or evasive behavior. So not so much as part of their natural register of behavior. So they don't go up and stay on trees. So if they go up the trees because there was a necessity for it, and they felt threatened or something like that, and they had nowhere to run to, because if they can, they prefer to run away, to keep away. So if they're enclosed or something, if they don't have another option, they might climb as a means to hide. Yeah.
And I believe that there have been occasions where when they've shown a tendency, say, to be attracted to humans or their human friendship, that you actually deliberately then try to scare them sometimes to make them actually frightened of humans again.
So in terms, so we've had animals, especially animals that were hand-reared, either because their mom abandoned them or something happened that required that animal to be hand-reared. In those cases, if the cubs are quite young, they tend to imprint on humans. And on those cases, it is not possible to reintroduce those animals into the wild because they have imprinted on humans. They don't fear humans. They want to interact and contact with humans. So obviously you cannot release an animal into the wild, and usually there might also be some behavioral issues. So you cannot release that animal into the wild. Here with the moms and the cubs are animals that we know from the start that are going to be slated to reintroduction. We take care, and as I said, the keepers that go to the enclosures and their daily handling is done in a way that minimizes the direct contact between the cubs and the keeper. But then later on, when we are doing the reintroduction training, it's just an adapted way of handling them and feeding them. If they seem to still be confident in getting close to a keeper or something, then we do like scaring protocols, which is just creating a negative connection with the keeper. The keeper goes inside and scares the cubs, so that they run away, so that they have a negative connection or an aversive reaction to humans, because we don't want them to panic, but we want them to be scared of humans, and in case they later on come into contact, to keep away from humans, and we don't want them going into populations and human populations and whatnot. So,
and then how many people work in these in the centre here?
In the centre, so here in the ethology team we have 4 ethologists. and I'm the ecology coordinator. So we're in total, we're 5. Anna is also a vet, so she works here in the ecology doing the video surveillance and looking out for the animals, and she's also a vet in case something happens. And obviously during the checkups that we do for the animals and the cubs, they do have periodical checkups to see if everything's fine with them. So, and then we have our clinical, another clinical vet, and then we have the keepers team, which is 6 people as well. We have Laura, our administrative, and then the director of the center, Dr. Rodrigo, who's also a vet.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm not sure, 12, 14, around 14 people. And then we also have a volunteer team.
Yes.
Which greatly help us here doing the video surveillance, because we do we always have someone here 24/7. So we have the volunteers that.
So it's literally, isn't it, 7 days a week?
Yeah. There's always
year,
at the center. There's always there's always an ethologist or a video surveillance and a keeper present. So we work shifts 24 hours round. So there's always someone present to watch the animals and a keeper to either do their handling or to be on standby in case something happens.
And how do you do veterinary checkups then? Do you have to sedate them?
Yeah, so for example, for the cubs, they have their 30, 60 days and 90 days checkup.
Yeah.
And on those first 3 checkups, since they are still small, you can do the checkup without sedating them. You just grab them and contain them manually. For juveniles and adults, you do have to sedate them.
Yeah.
And what we do is we get we use cages. I'm not sure how you say in English, but it's similar to the cages that you use to get stray cats or
take a cat to the vet or whatever.
But here, obviously, bigger.
Yeah.
So it's like a cage that has a pedal and then a door at the end, and when they press the pedal at the end of the
trap,
trap. So we train them, we start giving them food in the cage so that they get used to, and then they will go inside the cage shuts itself alone. We obviously observe through the cameras so that we can then tell the keeper the animal fell, go and get it. Because they get a bit stressed inside the cage, so I want to cover the cage as quickly as possible. But yeah, we observe that, we tell the keepers that the animal fell, they go and get it. On those cases for grown-ups and whatnot, we have to use the cages because you cannot track them otherwise. But with the little ones, until they are 90, 100 days of age, 3 months, 4 months, you can get them with the I don't know if I've seen the nets.
Oh yeah.
Butterfly nets.
Yeah, sure. Oh, there's 2 like huddled up asleep there.
It's the cubs, yeah.
That's cool. And how long do they live for? What's their
So you have a Fatama and you have 2 cubs. All the cubs born this year were female. So all females this year.
Really?
Yeah. It happened.
They have such beautiful markings. They've got these sort of beautiful spots and
they're quite
face. They're absolutely gorgeous.
They're quite majestic.
Yeah, they really are. How long do they live for in the wild?
In the wild, I'm not too sure in the wild because I'm more knowledgeable in terms of captivity. But in the wild, I know they've at least 10, 12 years they live. Here in captivity, we are learning now because the program, or at least this center, for example, opened in 2009, and we are now entering the stages in which we are having our first. In the last few years, we're having our first geriatric animals.
Yes.
But for example, our oldest here is Bisnaga. She's from 2004. So 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years.
Obviously, she's in terms of health, she doesn't have anything major, but of course she sleeps most of the time. Yeah. She already moves a bit slower, but she still hunts. She's still able to hunt and whatnot. But we also on our own geriatric animals, we adapt their enclosures. So we put ramps to the platform so that it's not as impactful on their joints when they're jumping up and down. So we adapt that for them, and he is no longer with us, but we once had a lynx that he had bilateral enucleation, so he didn't have eyes, so he was blind. And he also had platforms on his enclosure. You didn't move things from their places like cork pieces, platforms, enrichments, elements. You tend to stay them put, so because he knew his enclosure in his mind, so you didn't want to move things about because then he would go into objects.
Yeah.
So we try to adapt as best as we can to make their lives better and easier since they are in captivity for a purpose, but still in captivity. We try to make them as comfortable and to enrich them as possibly as we can.
And do you feel like hugely euphoric when the cubs kind of go to be released? It must be a good feeling, or is it sad?
No, it's always a kind of mission accomplished.
Yes, sure.
But then can be quite personal, but because then they are released into the wild and then you no longer can control the situation and things can go well and things can go wrong. We've unfortunately had cubs that were released and were run over less than a month after being released because you have, and I think it's the main, right now it's the main, let's say, death reason in reintroduced animals is being run over by a car. I will say that I'm not as attached to the cubs as I am to the adults that I've known longer. I look out for them and I care for them, and I have an investment in knowing that the job is well done and that we are observing the animals and preparing them as well as we can for them to succeed later on into the wild. But at the same time, for my peace of mind or for my mental health, let's say, I also don't treat them as my own animals, or I don't see them as my own animals. I keep a certain distance. Just because of not being able to control all their life. So I have to, for those cases on when things don't go right, I have to keep a little bit of distance so I'm not too heartbroken over, and so that I can maintain myself.
So it's these little cubs that are lying there cuddled up together with their mum. When will they be released into the wild?
So cubs that were born this year, and these ones were born they were born March.
Yes.
They will be reintroduced. Usually reintroductions are around February, March.
Yeah.
So on next February, March, when they are close to 1 year old.
And they select an area specifically where they think they can build a territory, or where there aren't any other in their vicinity. How do they select the area they live in?
So it has to do, they also take into account their genetics. So we have different release areas in Portugal and Spain. So this is a joint effort. So we coordinate, the program is coordinated Iberically, so between Portugal and Spain. So they look at the genetic that it's already represented in the field in the different areas, and the genetic that the individual being reproduced has, and where it's more advantageous to reintroduce that animal. So for example, this genetic line is less represented there. So let's put this animal here. You already have a lot of this genetic line there, so you're not going to put that animal there.
Right.
So they also look at it genetically, then obviously in terms of numbers of populations in different areas. But on the last few years, we have the in situ part of the program has been looking, and there has been new release areas opened because the ones that were in the first used in the program were starting to get crowded.
Because initially it was Myrtilo was the main concentration for the releases, wasn't it? Or?
Here in Portugal, it's Myrtilo, Val Guadiana, but I think in the last few years there have been elongated to the Algarve region. But in Portugal, it's still considered only one release area, which is Merlo. In Spain, they have several on the different regions of Spain. Yeah, I can't name them all because it's quite a few. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time. It's
You're welcome.
Fascinating, and what a lovely job to be sat looking at lynxes. You must enjoy every day at work, right?
Yeah, even nine years later on, I still do quite enjoy coming into work.
Yeah.
Because since you're working with live animals, the tasks that you have to do might be repetitive, and the months might repeat itself throughout the years. But since it's animals, there's always something different and something new to see, even after years on.
Yeah.
So I do quite enjoy it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay. So we're here now at the front of the Centro de Coordenação, and you can just see behind us, these are the lynx enclosures where the mother and cubs are at the moment. And I just wanted to ask, because we can see on the side of this building, it is coordinated by ICNF, who you work for. Can you explain to me a little bit about ICNF and their role in this project?
Of course, ICNF is a public institute from the public administration from the Portuguese government, and is the national authority for nature conservation and biodiversity, and also the national authority of forests.
Okay.
In this issue, it's biodiversity, of course, and we have for the lynx a national plan since 2008. The national plan for conservation of lynx pardinus, of Iberian lynx. The Iberian lynx is the first species that have a national plan of conservation since 2008. In 2015, the national plan was revised, a new plan, and all the things we have done about lynx are an umbrella of the national plan of conservation. We have ex situ component, that's the reproduction in captivity. We have in situ component, it's the release at wild and preparation and improvement of the natural habitat. And we have three other components, it's the communication and sensibilization of the population. The fourth one is the investigation involving the academy, the universities, and the national laboratories from the state to investigate several aspects about lynx, genetic, disease, behavior, so on. And the 50th component is the articulation between the several policies of the government, forests, agriculture, roads, and so on.
Okay.
And ICNF is the whole responsibility for the national plan, and so for the National Reproduction Center, and for the preparation of the territory for the release. I am a biologist. This is the project of the lynx is like I used to say a marathon.
A marathon.
It's not a race speed, a speed of race. It's a marathon. It's a resistant marathon and a persistent one. And some of my colleagues begin the race. Now I'm in the middle during the intermediate component, and perhaps another one, more young than myself, finished it when the lynx reached the favorable conservation status. And so it's a long project, a very long project, a very complex one, involving several aspects like we have spoken before.
And how long have you worked for ICNF?
I started to work in ICNF in 1982. This year, November, I reached 42 years working in the CNF. With lynx, I began in 2013. My colleague Lourdes Carvalho, that works now in Algarve, worked in CCDR, Faro. It's one of the first one. Pedro Sarmento, Margarida Fernandes are technicians of ACNM that are still working with lynx. Myself, I began in 2013, and during 11 years dealing with lynx, and we do our best to put the lynx under no threat of extinction, of course.
Well, congratulations. It's such an amazing project and a fantastic personal achievement for you and all your team and all the people at ICNF. And let's hope that in the future you reach your target of having a self-sustaining population in the wild. But thank you so much for your time and for joining us on Talk About Tomorrow.
Thank you also to Sophie and you too also, because we need to communicate and to show all the work we do. Okay.
We will share it, don't you worry. Thank you very much.